my final show for the episode is a documentary, which is rare for me to be bringing to the podcast.
Yeah, that's more of a Liz move.
I know.
A documentary.
However, I thought I might sniper Liz with a documentary about tennis. Boom Boom, The World versus Boris Becker.
Wait, it's called Boom Boom?
Apparently that was his nickname. I totally lost track of him after the 90s, so he got a nickname called Boom Boom, and I missed that. I was like, what was the title of that? I had to look up Boris Becker. I'm like, oh, right. I forgot about that. Boom Boom, The World versus Boris Becker on Apple TV+. My man has had a rough go of being an athlete. And
really?
in general, I mean, if you don't still see a star and you didn't hear about them dying from the 80s, like, some famous person like the Fridge or something like that, and you didn't hear that he passed, they're probably not doing great. They're probably still like making things happen. He had a bunch of financial issues that he thought he'd gotten squared away, and the bills come due, and however he's having to face the music, so to speak. It was a really interesting documentary because it was over like a 3-year break. There was like the first part where they were catching up with him before a bunch of stuff happened, and then a bunch of stuff happened. They're like, well, it looks like we're going to be doing a longer version of this because he's got some stuff in court. And I think they filmed the remainder, the second interview, like 3 days before he went to jail. For like 2 years for fraud and stuff like that.
Like tax evasion or something.
And so it's like, you just go, oh man, Boris Becker, you were on top. What happened? And you're like, well, it was a slow ride down. That's what it was.
So just to refresh my memory, was he the John McEnroe era? Am I thinking of the right person?
John McEnroe is actually one of the people that interviews him because there's a couple. It's like the era of tennis where if you know John McEnroe from tennis, you know that he just yelled at the top of his lungs, but it was all the way over here. You couldn't hear very much. And you could kind of tell what was going on. Mm-hmm. The mics weren't really there. So there was a little bit of like insider information about like, oh yeah, I totally cursed him out. And he like maybe didn't understand all of the things I said because he's German and it kind of rattled him. So it was interesting to have like all of this perspective from these two athletes, one who's had trouble and one who's a troublemaker but is still not spent any time in jail.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, overall, I didn't understand what had happened to Boris Becker because, like, there's a bunch of older tennis players that are still kicking around, and I don't think I've seen Andre Agassi do anything recently, but maybe he's going to come out with a new shoe line. You don't know. But I didn't realize that Boris Becker started coaching and that he started coaching Novak Dvorak, who's like a superstar. And that team up kept him going way longer than if it just been his own career because that kind of had faltered. But yeah, so it was a really good documentary. It's 2 parts.
Wow. Where'd you say it was?
Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, he's someone I definitely remember from that era because he won Grand Slams. And that sets you apart in that world. There's a great documentary called Full Swing on Netflix right now about the tennis world, but it's more contemporary for the most part. But, to go back and kind of see to become globally famous on that scale of that era, you have to have been of a caliber of a player pretty incredible. So I didn't know about his coaching. So it's pretty awesome that he reinvented himself that way. But, he got in trouble with the taxes. You just...
And, living the life too long after not making the money anymore. That was one of the points that they kind of hit home pretty well, which is you get sponsorships and you get paid to win these championships and you're living this life and then you are dropped off a cliff at 30. Good luck figuring that out.
Yeah.
And there's no help and there's no support and there's no like seniors tour that you're going on. So it's not like golf.
No, it's probably coaching and being a commentary position on one of your networks. And for his, maybe it would have been like German.
And he did do commentary for a while where he brought like, funny level to what was going on. But, eventually the world, as it says, caught up with Boris Becker.
I think I may want to watch that.
Yep, I recommend it.
I mean, the thing is, he was a blonde, so he didn't like do it for me as a kid, but I still think I want to watch it as a young teenager watching tennis.
I'm not going to say if we ever expose pictures of my 12-year-old self that you could probably put me right next to Boris Becker and be like, were you trying to look like him? I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. Had spiky hair. That was the mode back then. You got a flat top.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I could see it now.